Working hard, I might stump, what's the problem? I ain't had shit to show, being modest. Now it's grams to the wax for my conscience. Bron James in LA, you're on college. I've been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Just the John on them jets cause we wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island, moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain when my pops flipped. Knew his name, that's it, never bothered. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. Ever since I found a way to go and pop shit. Hold up, blaze through a whole zip. Took a seat at the table of my first flip. Days in red roof with my first whip. Split the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen a change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute just to front, nigga. Goddamn. Had to grow up quick, I made my own rules. Had my first child, got it jumping with music. Can't really hang with nobody who losing. I thought by now that you would go and get it, but I could hardly see niggas as distant. Know you get cropped if you not in the picture. And I made that zag and went got a bag. Shots to the Henny and OG prescriptions, put rebel shit on the map. Took a leap from where I started at. Started ballin' now, I'm Chris Paul and Cass. Got him steady calling for the mold, but I'm on a roll, gotta call him back. And that's all fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight. You'll find a list of approved devices in the in-flight information section.
All right, welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Pocket Locker podcast. I guess I don't really know. I don't think this is really technically a podcast, but yeah, we back to finish working on. I shouldn't say finish to work on. We're back to take the next step on our Blender project. Trying to create this donut scene for my class. Yeah, I'm just chilling for a minute. Gonna get into the groove, make sure the vibe is right. Yeah, I know a lot of people probably think it's weird that I would go live. Why not get into the groove first and then just come live and start the show? Especially when you be getting in the groove and ain't nobody even watching. But I don't know. I like to gather. I like to kind of feel like, you know, I gave y'all the opportunity to vibe with me, to witness the whole process. And, you know, part of the process is we sit down, we get everything ready, and then we want to make sure we get ourselves into the frame of mind that we want to be into when we're doing what we do. So that's why I like to just go live and then just have the first portion of the stream just kind of being us chilling together, vibing out for a hot minute. And then we'll get to work. But I know that's probably weird for people, but I don't do this for a living. I don't really have to worry about the production value so much. All right, I was just checking the audio on the stream real quick, just to make sure everything's all right. Everything sounds like it's okay on my end. But yeah, I hope everybody's having a good day. We didn't do hot program today because me and my one black friend just weren't on the same page about our schedule. I think he was out running around, so he would have had to do it a little bit later. And today's technically the last day of my spring break, so I wanted to have a little bit extra time to work on this project, and then a little bit more time to spend doing studio stuff when I'm done with this, on the audio side of things, I should say. I guess this technically counts as studio stuff too, but yeah. This is 3D modeling studio mode. Later I'll be in audio studio mode. But yeah, I just got the jazz going for a little bit. But like I said, I hope everybody's having a good day. Sorry we didn't do Hot Program earlier. I did an episode by myself last week, but yeah, I think we'll be back in the saddle together next week. And I'm getting ready to go back to class. Tomorrow I got to get up and get back to my full-time schedule. It sucks. The one thing sucks about working at two universities is that when one has a break, the other does not. So this was supposed to be like spring break from my full-time job, but my part-time job doesn't have a spring break. So I still had to teach all week, but it was a nice little light schedule, and got to it was like a hybrid. It was like I still had to get up and teach every day, but I had a lot more time to myself throughout the week. This week will be right back to the normal full-time grind. What a grind it's been. But that's okay. It gets me more into the studio stuff because it's like I just need an outlet to relax and do some other creative stuff. But yeah, right now I'm just enjoying my coffee. I got my coffee. Got the H to the Izzo to stay hydrated. Then we need another little shot of whiskey. Cheers. We got the whiskey. Good whiskey, too. Every once in a while, I decide to splurge on the good liquor. Spoil myself. And then, of course, we can get into airplane mode. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'll switch over to this demo scene. It allows you to see what I'm working on, but also see the video. Oh, no, you know what? I messed these up. I want the demo scene to be this one, so you can see what I'm working on primarily, but still see the tutorial at a decent size and see me at a decent size. Then this is the work setup. Like if I were really getting busy in a Blender to where you can mostly focus on me, still see him if I need to reference him, but you'll primarily see what I'm working on. Then tutorial is basically supposed to be switched where you see him primarily. This is for like if I'm mostly listening to him, but you can still see me and what I'm working on. Go with demo for now. And then we'll get to work over here. I'm actually operating two computers because I'm doing Blender on my laptop because that's what I use when I teach is I use my laptop. So I want Blender to be on my laptop. That way, when I share with my class, it's on my laptop. So you guys have that coming into my main production computer. And then actually I've been using my third computer, my actual PC, my personal PC. So having three computers going at the same time, having two going at the same time and still getting used to it was already making me hit the wrong keyboard. But now having three going makes it even worse. But all right, so got my mouse and keyboard here for my laptop. Down here I've got my mouse and trackball for my Mac. All right, here we go.
Fill. So there's two options.
All right, so we need to make this plate underneath. So we have our donut and our coffee mug. But we need we're going to work on this plate. So that's what we're doing now.
Either of them will do. Ngon is just one is just.
All right.
So
I think we need
show
a
you how to
shape.
make it right now.
All right. So I think
So
we add
if you
a
had
shape.
no problems with it.
See that's it right there. Me, that was me going to do Blender
Might
and hitting
wanna
the wrong
skip
thing.
forward.
Okay.
This might be a little boring, but otherwise I'm going to show everyone how I would go about creating the plate. So we need to add a new object to the scene. We can go to the add menu up there, or we can hit Shift A. And then from this list, we want to choose the object which most resembles what we want to create. If you ask me, that would be a circle. Okay, so just like before, the bottom left-hand corner.
All right, what are we adding? We added a circle mesh. Okay, there we go.
Change some options here. The biggest one being radius. It's too big, so I'll drop that into about there.
All right, and we got to remember that when we click off, we kind of lose this menu, and we can bring it back, but it's harder. So that's why he's showing us to do this right away. All right, let's just go 0.21.
And you will notice that you can see through it, okay? That into about there. Okay, so just like before, the bottom left-hand corner, we can change some options here. The biggest one being radius. It's too big, so I'll drop that into about there. And you will notice that you can see through it, okay? And that is because there is no face there. This is just a string of vertices. And as I touched on briefly earlier, vertices don't show up in your render. Faces do. So we need to add a type of face underneath fill. So there's two options. Either of them will do. Ngon is just one single face shared amongst the 32, or the triangle fan will mean there's one point in the middle. You can actually see it in this mode. One point in the middle, and then it just creates triangles to that point. I'm going to go with Ngon because, you know, it's never failed me for this option, so I'll just use that. Okay. Now we need to add more geometry to this because we need to create some sort of a lip for the plate. You can't just have a plate. It's always got to have a rim on or else that stuff slides off it, right? So into edit mode by hitting tab, to add some geometry, I'm going to...
You know what? Let me do a save real quick. Let me do a save as... let's do plate... Oh my goodness, y'all, I'm over here hitting all the wrong buttons. I'm just like literally over here. Why isn't my typing showing up? Typing on the wrong keyboard. Let's say plate. Let's go to 0. Let's overwrite that. Then we'll increment and overwrite that, because typically what happens is when I get nervous, I do what's like I'm gonna hit Control S. I'm not gonna do a save as. So that's why a lot of times I do a save as. That's like, okay, here's the thing I want to be able to go back to. I always want to be able to go back to this, so do the save as. Then I increment it because I know when I get flustered and I do like a impulse save, or I don't want to lose what I just did save, a lot of times I'm not going to have the discipline to go back and then save as again. And if I just hit Control S, then I'm just going to overwrite the thing that I want to go back to. Does that make sense? That's why I'm explaining this shit. That's why I like streaming this stuff, because it forces me to like think through what I'm saying. So it's like, let's say I create a thing and it's called plate. And when I start, I want to be able to go back to that, because everything I do when I make this fucking plate, I might just totally royally horse cock it. I was like, I'm reaching for the Uncle Bobby phrase, but I'm going to fuck it up, and I fucked it up. All right. So if I just save, let's say plate 0, because 0 being how we're going to start the numbers, we're going to start at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. If I do plate 0, and then I save as plate 0, and then I do a bunch of stuff, and then like, let's say it's going good, and I go, ooh, I want to save this. I'm going to hit Control S. Now I can't go back to plate 0, because plate 0 is no longer the base that I started from. Plate 0 is now the thing that I did where I did all this stuff. And then if I fuck a bunch of stuff up and I realize, oh, I should go all the way back to where I started, I can't do that because I overwrote place 0. So when I have a place I really want to go back to, I'll save as, let's say, plate 0. Then I'll increment it to say plate 1 and save as plate 1. Now, if I do a bunch of stuff I like, or I do a bunch of stuff I don't want to lose, and whatever else happens, and I impulsively hit Control S, because that's just my habit from working in digital, spaces for a long time. You're like, oh, don't wanna lose that, so you hit Control S. Then that's gonna overwrite plate 1, not plate 0. So then if I want to go back to where I started, I can always just go back to plate 0 because I didn't overwrite it. All right, yeah, that makes sense to me. We're good.
We need to delete that face because we don't need
What
it.
up, PC?
So
What
I'm
up,
gonna
Andrew?
hit X to delete. And then
Andrew said, yeah, I've done that with my digital art. Yeah, Andrew, exactly. That's why we got to think through these things to like, have that little bit of extra care that then doesn't become an inconvenience. Like it's not telling me like, oh, make up like a whole new system. It's like, no, just make sure that like you put a word in the in the save name that tells you what you were working on, save the thing you want to make sure you can go back to, then increment it and save that. And then when you Control S something, then you can strategically think of the next time you need to do a save as.
what type of deletion? Not edges, not vertices, obviously, because that would be, the entire line.
Yeah, see, I'm just doing this shit for myself as a full-on hobbyist, and really I'm doing this for a class. But absolutely, Andrew, when you're working for a client, then then it really, really matters.
I want to delete just the single face on top.
All right. So since I was typing on the wrong keyboard, I missed a bunch of instructions. So I'm gonna go back a couple steps here, because again, I was hitting the wrong button.
Edit mode by hitting Tab.
All right. So I need to do that. I'm in edit mode now. Here we go.
I'm going to extrude. So I'm going to hit
Wait,
E.
actually, he moved his too. I want to see that. I
So
think he just moved
I'll
it on
just
the
use that.
Z-axis.
Just create point in the middle, next to 32, or the triangle fan will mean there's
Actually, you
one
know
point
what?
in the middle.
I'm wrong. We did this with him too. So I just need to move mine. I think he moved his earlier, or maybe he just created it underneath. But what we're gonna do is I think you go grab, and then we say Z, and then we go down, and we're locked on the Z-axis. And then what's weird is it would be sitting on it. So I didn't put myself in the best position to see this. That looks about right to me now. Like it looks like it's sitting on there. Or at least it's close enough, right? All right, so here we go. Now, like, let's imagine that that's a big deal to us. And so we hit Control S. Right now we've saved over 1, but we can always go back to 0. And then like we'll just keep going from here. And I don't feel the need to do necessarily a save as, because we haven't done anything that we couldn't easily undo.
Middle, you can actually see it in this mode. One point in the middle, and then it just creates triangles to that point. I'm going to go with Ngon because, it's never failed me for this option, so I'll just use that. Okay. Now we need to add more geometry to this because we need to create some sort of a lip for the plate.
Yeah, we want to create the lip next.
It's always got to have a rim on or else that stuff slides off it, right? So into edit mode by hitting Tab, to add some geometry, I'm going to extrude. So I'm going to hit E, okay? And in this state, it's now saying, where do you want to place it? And it's extruding it along the normal, which is that invisible line that faces out from the face in there. And I'm just going to do a single click right here. Now, before we start scaling and pulling this out, you'll notice that obviously that's intersecting our mesh. We need to delete that face because we don't need it. So,
all right, so I'm going to pull it out. Wait, did he go up? Why did you do that?
add some geometry. I'm going to extrude. So I'm going to hit E, okay? And in this state, it's now saying, where do you want to place it? And it's extruding it along the north.
All right. Oh, you know what? You do want it to go up because we're creating like a lip type thing. So he's right. I'm wrong. And I don't know what I just did. Let's hit escape. God, I keep hitting the wrong keyboard. It's driving me crazy. But it's fine. I actually need to hit the wrong keyboard because I need to get used to doing this. I'm actually excited. Like I'm trying to get more back into like streaming my personal stuff and like multimedia stuff. Not all of it's going to be on this channel. I'm probably going to end up I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be on this channel. The idea was actually the Pocket Locker channel was supposed to be the channel for everything, and then you're supposed to just be subjected to whatever I do. And then like my actual Jay Bundy channel was supposed to be the channel that's now Hunter Biden's laptops. The Hunter Biden's laptops channel, that was supposed to be the channel where we did mostly the political and counter apologetic stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do. But I'm glad we're having this issue because it's making me get used to the setup how I want it to work. Yeah. Anyway,
normal, which is that invisible line that faces out from the face in there. And I'm just going to do a single click right here. Now, before we start scaling and pulling this out, you'll notice that obviously that's intersecting our mesh. We need to delete that face because we don't need it. So I'm going to hit X to delete. And then what type of deletion? Not edges, not vertices, obviously, because that would be, the entire line. I want to delete just the single face on top. And there we go. So now I can reselect that line by holding down Alt and then left clicking on it. And now if I want to create like a lip, which is not just straight up, but a little bit out, I would just scale. So S to scale, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay. And then I'm going to do another extrusion because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay. So E, and then I don't actually, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that.
I don't know if mine is, let me see. Yeah, let me get back towards where I want. That's better. All right. And then let's go over here. All right. And then S for scale. Okay. Let's just go with that for now.
And editing, if so with this shape, it's usually always less because it's
see. I did something so terrible. See, I hit the wrong button a bunch of times, and then like it just jumped way ahead. Materials? No, we're not. No, we're not doing
the surface yourself. Join me in that part, what the wireframe looks like, because that will probably help some people out as well. Okay, so you hit. So if you choose the object which most resembles what we want to create, if you ask me, that would be a circle. Okay, so scaling and pulling this out, you'll notice that it don't need edges, this whole straight up, but a little bit out. I would just scale. So S to scale, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay, and then I'm going to do another extrusion because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay, so E, and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously, I want to pull it outwards. So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm in that state, I'm going to hit S to pull outwards like so. By the way, I should show you.
Hang on a sec. All right, so we're going to do E, and then we don't want to go up, so we escape. We hit S to pull outwards, and then we scale. Nope, you didn't do it. Did I need to put down another line first?
So, and then like that, do a click to confirm. Okay, and then until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay, and then I'm going to do another extrusion because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay, so E, and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously, I want to pull it outwards. So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm in that state, I'm going to hit S to pull outwards like so. By the way, I should show you as well. If after you have like extruded something, like let's say you do this, right? Oops. If you did this, if you extruded and then you like cleared its position, but then accidentally clicked off it, you've now got double vertices all along this line here. And that's horrible because it will create jagged artifacts in it. So this is a really super common problem that you will experience all the time. And the way to fix it is to select your entire mesh, then hit M to merge, and then you're going to go by distance. And you'll see in the bottom there, that little thing that says removed 32 vertices. And that has cleared up that problem. So I have to show you that because people will do it. It'll happen.
All right, I got to figure out the thing we're supposed to do because this is clearly not it. Like, it's not do this and then hit escape and then hit S because that just scales again. So it's got to be E. No. Yeah, no, I genuinely don't know. All right.
And that's horrible because it will create all the space because we don't need it. So I'm going to hit X to delete. And then what type of deletion?
Delete
not
the
edges, not vertices,
faces.
obviously, because that would be, the entire line. I want to delete just the single face on top. And there we go. So now I can reselect that line by holding down Alt and then left clicking on it. And now if I want to create like a lip, which is not just straight up, but a little bit out, I would just
Hey,
scale.
Robin.
So S to scale, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay. And then I'm going to do another extrusion because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay. So E, and then I don't actually want to pull it
So he said E, right? And boom, okay, he does this.
upwards. Obviously, I want to pull it outwards. So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm in that state, I'm going to hit S to pull outwards movement. And now that I'm in
Oh, E to escape. No, I thought I was hitting that. Escape, middle click. Nope. That did not work. And again, that's the other thing we don't want to do.
in that
Very
state, I'm going to
confused.
hit S to pull outwards like so. By the way, I should show you as well. S.
No, don't.
So what I do is, and then I create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay, so E, and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously, I want to pull it outwards. So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm
That's the
obviously,
part I
wanna
don't
pull
know
it
how he
outwards.
does it.
So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm obviously
Now, if you look at the
Okay,
bottom
so
of the
E,
screen,
and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously, I want to pull it outwards. So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm in that state, I'm going
nope. Nope. I really don't understand how he's doing that. Choosing E to extrude. See, to me, okay, like that's almost better. Now that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. It didn't articulate around the. It moved everything in the same direction. I see what happened. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I don't know how he's doing the extrude escape S. We've just done it time and time again. Extrude escape S. I almost wonder, is he putting like an no, he doesn't put a cut anywhere. No, no. I'm teaching the class. It's called Social Determinants of Health.
Going to hit S to pull outwards, like so. By the way, I should show you as
Why is that not working?
So what
for
I do,
me?
and because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a, okay, my mouse out, I would just scale. So S to scale, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay, and then I'm going to do another extrusion because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay, so E, and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously, I want to pull it outwards. So
She's
E
selected that?
extrusion because I'm going to.
I just don't understand how. Yeah, it's just not. I have the same thing selected. Yeah, it's just scale. Like that's what that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Create like another.
If you are selecting this, I'm not going crazy. If you have this rim or whatever selected, right? Because you're in vertices select mode, and then you instead of you select all of them, Alt R. Now you're selected on this. Then you extrude. Okay, now you extrude. If you escape the extrusion. And then hit S, you're back to just scaling that same rim. That's why that doesn't make any sense. So that can't be it. So you've got to extrude. If I right click cancel again, same problem. Extrude, automatic constraint, plane, precision mode. I'm looking at these options at the bottom. Snap toggle, snap invert, bet snap base plane, axes, cancel. He's doing something else, and I have to figure out what it is. Whoa. Oh, that's the thing that gets me close, but it goes on to the wrong side. So to me, okay, so you can't just extrude out or over. It needs to be That's why you use the scale thing. I just don't understand. And even that, when I do that, it doesn't scale independently. I don't understand this. Hey, Kyle, I don't understand this at all.
A bit like a little bit of a flat area. Okay, so E, and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously, I want to pull.
What is he? Is he extruding from something different than what I'm? He is extruding from something different than what I'm extruding from. Okay. All right, here. Let's do this. Let's go back. I want to go back as far as we can and see. Let's see how far back it'll let us go. Actually, let's not. Let's see.
For the plate, you can't just have a plate. It's always got to have a single click right here. Now, before we start scaling and pulling this out, you'll notice that obviously that's intersecting our mesh. We need to delete, create like a lip, which is not just straight up, but a little bit out. I would just scale. So S to scale, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay. And then
now what pisses me off again is that I can't just go back further. All right, let's go. So then we would go back to open. Don't save. Cancel. Let's save as open. Did I not do a plate 0? I thought I did a plate 0. That's no good. Let's just delete the fucking plate. Add circle. Move the radius to 0.21. Fill with that. Grab it. Make it so it's sitting right there. Okay, then you need it to extrude. Upwards.
I'm going to do another its point. I'm going to go with Ngon because, you know, it's never failed me for this option. Geometry to this because we need to create some sort of a lip for the plate. You can't just have a plate. It's always got to have a rim on or else that stuff slides off it, right?
I'm still in object mode.
By hitting tab. To add some geometry, I'm going to extrude. So I'm going to hit E, okay? And in this state, it's now saying, yeah, where do you want to place it? And it's extruding it along the normal, which is that invisible line that faces out from the face in there. And I'm just going to do a single click right here. Now, before we start scaling and pulling this out, you'll notice that obviously that's intersecting our mesh.
So we
need to delete that face because we don't need it. So I'm going to hit X to delete. And then what type of deletion? Not edges, not vertices, obviously, because that would be, you know, the entire line. I want to delete just the single face and then left clicking on it. And now if I want to create like a lip, which is not just straight up, but a little bit out, I would just scale. So S to scale lip, which that line by holding down Alt and then left clicking on it. And now if I want to create like
All right, so now we hold this line. We all left click on it. Now I am getting everything. Okay.
The lip, which is not just straight up, but a little bit out, I would just scale. So S to scale, and then just pulling my mouse out until it looks something like that. Do a click to confirm. Okay. And then I'm going to do another extrusion because I'm going to create like another bit, like a little bit of a flat area. Okay. So E, and then I don't actually want to pull it upwards. Obviously I want to pull it outwards. So what I do is I cancel the movement. And now that I'm in that state, I'm going to hit S to pull outwards like so. By the way,
Just
I should show
doesn't.
you as well.
Just,
If after you have
just doesn't do
extruded
it.
something, like let's say you do this, right? And that's hard problem. Then hit and how you
Wait, let me
see
get. Let
in
me
the
figure out
bottom
where it
there,
is.
that little thing in it. So this is a really line here, and that's horrible because it
All right, so this timestamp is 133.
movement. So its placement is exactly where it started from, but then I'm going to hit S to scale outwards. So placement is exactly, as I said, extrude, clear its like movement. So its placement is exactly where it is.
He's going over it again. Yeah, this is so insulting.
All right, so as I said, extrude, clear its like movement. So its placement is exactly where it started from, but then I'm going to hit S to scale outwards. So now I've got a little.
That's what I'm trying to do. Extrude. Backspace. Whoa, okay. I had to hit backspace instead of escape. That's what it was. The clear thing he's talking about for me not having the same keyboard setup was backspace. Oh my God, y'all, that was driving me crazy. Look, if I hit extrude, go up, and then I hit escape, because escape a lot of times is how you, but I guess escape gets you out of the mode. So escape, when I hit escape, I guess I leave extrude. Okay, this is kind of what I needed to know before. This is probably how we could have fixed the goddamn handle, maybe, who knows. So now I go extrude. Now instead I hit backspace. Now I'm still in extrude. Okay. Yeah, okay. We're gonna learn today. Yeah, see, now I'm still in extrude. Oh, this is what I was messing up with all the other shit. I needed to learn about backspace. Okay, so I can extrude. Now I hit backspace. Then I hit S. Boom. Tell these suckers they can't fuck with us. Okay. Now we gotta play with a lip. Like, come on now. Come on now. They can't fuck with us. Oh, but now it's scaling everything. Okay. All right. So I can undo that. Do it again. Extrude. Backspace. S. That way goes in. Then you go out. In. Out. Nice little lip on it. Okay. Okay. My plate's looking a little deep, but I'm not too mad at it. Not too mad at it. And my donut could be probably a little more flush.
Flat rim to my plate. And then, now that it's here, I'm going to do one further extrusion upwards. And this is just obviously the design of the plate that I'm choosing. So upwards. Now you can see it's like freehand like that. I don't like it, so I'm just going to lock it on the Z axis. So just hit Z, so it's going straight up.
All right, so now I'm going to do Alt-R. We got to select that rim. We do another extrusion. We lock it to Z.
Like so. Okay.
Okay. And there is our plate.
Great. We've got a very jaggedy.
Okay. And, you know, you can go into object mode, shade smooth. And, you know, we get kind of a jaggedy plate.
looking plate that you sometimes see in video games. You're playing Call of Duty or something, you get up close and you go like, look at that jagged old plate there. Which, by the way, is because in games, the plate is like one of a million objects and they can only put so many polys into the scene. So little things, little details on tables and things often end up a little low res. Anyways, go to your modifier stack. And the first one we want to add to kind of smooth this out is our very favorite subdivision surface, right where my head is. Or you can
All right, I got to figure out where to get my modifiers here. Add modifier, generate subdivision surface. Okay.
access it from the search subdivision. There we go. Okay, cool. And I'm going to go level 2. And we've got that crimping effect happening to the middle of our plate there.
Yeah.
So just like before. And actually, let's hide my donut and my icing just so that I can focus on the plate. And I'm
All right, let's hide the donut and the icing. That's just turning off the little
also going to turn off the subdiv just so that I can
eyeballs.
select this single face here. Because just like before, off the subdiv just so that I can select this single face here. Because just like before, turn off the subdiv just so that I can select this single face here.
Okay, so he turned off that. No. I think you have to go back in edit mode. Yeah, okay. And turn it off. Now I can select the face. Okay.
Because just like before, the reason that's happening is it's like right on the edge there. It has to like convert all that into like a single point in the middle. And it's just too ugly when it starts there. So we just may have to make it start way further in the middle like that. And then when we do that, it's clear. It's practically invisible. You can only see it if you get really close, but you won't see it because it'll be under.
All right, so I think you just scaled that. Have it start way more in here. Okay, then go back in the object mode, add the modifier. Oh, I see. It makes it go more inside. Okay. So let's go back to edit mode. I don't know. I feel like I would make mine even smaller. Okay, then back into object mode. Yeah, okay. Now put donut icing back on, and it's less noticeable. All right.
The donut and it'll be smooth. Anyway, cool. Now I can tighten up the edges here because this is looking very, very smooth. So I showed you before how you can add a loop cut. You can do Control R, okay, and that'll add a loop cut in the middle, and then I just pull it out towards the edge like that to make a.
All right, so I need to be back in the edit mode. We're still gonna hide the donut and the icing.
Add a loop before, tighten up the edges here because this is looking very, very smooth. So I showed you before how you can add a loop cut. You can do Control R.
All right, what are we trying to, what is he worried about here? I honestly don't have a lot of that going on.
Okay, and that'll add a loop cut in the middle, and then I just pull it out towards the.
But I can go ahead and do it. I don't know why. Okay, let me go back here so I can turn this on. Alt R, Control R, yeah, Control R.
The edge like that to make a smoothed, sharpened point. Yeah, anyway, the other way to do it, which I didn't talk about, but you can do a crease. So if we just hold down Alt and then we select that line there, you can do a crease. If you right click, you'll see you've got their edge crease or the hotkey.
Wait, where did he put his loop cut?
Sorry, pull it out towards the edge like that to make a smoothed, sharpened. Do it, and we select that line.
I'm not worried about it.
You can do a crease. If you right click, you'll see you've got their edge crease or the hotkey Shift E.
All All right, so the crease thing would be Alt R, select that, Shift E, edge crease.
So in this, when you do Shift E, you'll see at the top there, you're pulling out basically a value from 1 to 0. And essentially what it's doing is it's like doing a fake kind of tighten on that edge there. So it's kind of like pulling it out and just making it a sharper point. It doesn't look as nice. You don't get as much of a bevel because there's no geometry being added there like you would if you were to actually do a loop cut. You get all this extra geometry. So it's not as good, but for like small things, it's generally fine to do something like that. All right, I'm going to do a shade smooth now because I want to see how that looks. And that's pretty good. Now, the only other thing, the exact same thing. It's weird that like 3 things in this small little scene have the exact same 2 modifiers, subserve and solidify. Anyways, generate, solidify. And just like before, we want this solidify to go first because otherwise it's doing it after the fact. And then we get this like really annoying like hard line there. So just pull that up to the top and now it's rounded and look at that. But yeah, I might actually want to make this line a little bit harder. So
My
I'll pull
plate no
that
longer
in.
looks flat to me.
It's still, yeah, there's just not enough geometry there. This is one of the cases where you just need more geometry. So I'm going to add a loop cut here and I'll add another loop cut underneath it like that. And now I'm going to just select this and I'm just going to revert that edge crease. So Shift E, and then I just go like -1, like so. And now it's just, yeah, the way it was before. But there you go. So now I've got a sharper edge on it. The only other thing, I might just pull up this lip here. So
Yeah, it's
Alt
this
select on
thing.
that lip, G, Z, and I'll just pull it up a little bit. And there you go. And we would model from reference, but I actually had a photo scan plate from Polygon, which we'll get to later. But yeah, this is just modeling from that reference that I already had, but this is the design of it. So there you go. Great. Now let's bring back our donut and our icing. Now I saw a comment on the last video that said, you didn't make the donut lumpy like last time. It's so over. Why? Oh, ye have little faith. You think I...
All right, let me do this real quick, which I think what I would do is I'd go back into edit mode. And then I think I'd do an inset on that to make the whole thing go instead of doing it directly from the thing. That goes back out. I don't know, it's not letting me go. Oh, scale. I can scale it then. Yeah, see, that doesn't round it out when I do it that way. Okay. Should have just left it where it was. All right. Now let's more or less happy with that. I see where I could be a little bit smoother. Also, the inset does now make it rounded again. There we go. Now to me, that says plate. All right. Then I can get rid of the modifier. Okay, I guess Control R for my loop cut I see what difference it makes. It's in there. Okay. Something went over the edge. There. Oh, I see. That is actually over the edge. Oh, there. Yep, that's where it went wrong. Okay. So that could be scaled out, but not so far that it's over it. There we go. All right, now, now what happens if it's scaled such that it's in there? Yeah, it starts to get weird. Okay. We want it to the out. Still giving plate. Can't do anything with that. Okay. All right, now let's go in the object mode. Yeah, it's giving me plate almost like styrofoam too. Okay. Yeah, I'm much happier with that. All right.
I would forget something like that. Maybe I did forget. But I'm actually glad I did, because this is a great opportunity to talk about a new tool. So for those that haven't watched a previous version, before we did the icing, we made the donut lumpy, which I did by going into edit mode, and then I just selected vertices using proportional editing and pulled it out, right? And just kind of like maybe I shrink some parts in, this kind of thing. And the reason this is important is that this adds natural variation, because you could have scientists working for 1,000 years in a lab, and they would never be able to create a donut as perfectly mathematically accurate as our 3D software has done. This is too perfect. There is natural variation, and we need to see that for the eye to go, this is, a real, something realistic, right? And it's hard to do this kind of thing after you've already added the icing, because you can see it just has no bearing on the icing over the top, right? So some things in 3D are easier to do earlier than they are to do later. And this is something you just learn as you do 3D. Like you'll do so many projects where you just you get to the end and you go like, oh man, why didn't I do that before I did this? Now this is I've 3x'd the amount of work, and you just learn these things over time. However, there are certain tools, and there is one I'm going to introduce you to in a second, that enable you to make these sort of changes after. By the way, there is a way, you can select both objects like this, which that is something that you can do in Blender now. You didn't used to always be able to, but you can now edit both objects together. So I could do this. It does have a clipping issue when you try to do shrink fatten, but you can get some natural lumpy variations going this way. And you can do that. That's actually fine. But I do want to introduce you to a new tool that is in 5.0. And it is, if you select both of your icing and your donut together, then you hit Shift A and then you go lattice. There's a new option for lattice deform selected. We always had lattice, but it was very finicky to set up. But
Shift A, lattice, deform selected.
now you've got lattice deform selected, and that adds this, what looks like a cube, like a bounding box over your object. But it's not actually going to appear in your render. All it is a deformation guide. So if you just select these points, you can see we are twisting the donut. But importantly, the actual donut is underneath, like this is a modifier, right? So we're not actually changing the mesh at all. It's just doing this after the fact. And then if I just deleted my lattice, like it's gone, it's back to where it was. So this is a non-destructive workflow. These little points here, they enable me to, at any point in the future, change and deform a mesh, which is actually really useful. And it's because you're not often in the exact circumstance when you know exactly what you're going to do, and then at the end of it, like, you know, the order in which to do things. Sometimes you're working with a client and they've got an idea for something, and then far later on they're like, you know what, let's change the proportions of the car or whatever.
Thanks,
it is.
Andrew.
And
Appreciate
you
you.
have
Sorry
to be
if I
able to
missed
like
that.
fix it without redoing all your mesh. So that's what a lattice can do.
I'm looking at the
Now
tutorial.
it comes by default with just this low res cube over it. But if down here, you click this little data property for the lattice, you've got resolution here. So I can increase this. I can add in some more resolution.
All right, how do I get in there?
Here. And importantly, I want to add one in the middle here.
All right, so I can go 4, 3.
Because the first thing you notice when you look at reference of donuts is that besides the lumpy shape.
That's the banding I was talking about. So the next time I want to do this, I would love to be able to try to create this banding, because like how it's dark here, and lighter in the middle. Because I definitely recognize that as something very enticing when I look at a real donut.
Bit around the middle of the donut is often whiter and it's not as puffy. And when you look at how donuts are cooked, it's actually easy to see why. It's half submerged in the oil, and then it is flipped over onto the other side, and then the other side cooks. So it cooks one side and then it cooks the other. And the bits, near the surface of the oil, that's the oil is less hot, right? Because it's near the surface, so it's escaping. So that oil is less hot. The oil that's underneath it is much hotter, and then it flips it over. And so again, you always have this bit around the middle that just isn't quite cooked as well as the other stuff. So it ends up being a little bit lighter. It's also less puffy. So no donut actually comes out at that perfectly round shape. It's usually always kind of almost concave actually around the middle. So with this, I can select all of these points here like so. I have to shift select them. I can't do the alt click around it because it's not technically a mesh. And then I can just shift select them, all of these points here like so, in the middle. So with this, I can select all of these points here, like so. I have to shift select them. I can't do the alt click around it.
All right, let's see. Let's try this. I think I have to select vertices, maybe. Oh, I'm not in edit mode. Then I need to select vertices. Then I need to be on the lattice. I don't know why. Why is it showing me all this stuff for the donut? donut selected too? I'm not, it's going donut lattice. Oh, that's showing the shift select. Okay. Why is it not just letting me grab the points on the lattice?
Because it's not technically so round shape. It's also less kind of points here, like so. I have to shift select them. I can't do the alt click around it because it's not technically a mesh.
Dude, I can't even select any of them. Nope. It doesn't even select lattice points at all. Now, one thing I will notice, his is saying lattice, lattice, and mine is saying donut lattice. Which makes me wonder if I didn't set up my lattice correctly. But there isn't anything I can do because it's not letting me. Oh, I could remove the modifier. Yeah, I just don't understand why. Oh, Lord, that wasn't good. Um, yeah, I just can't select points on the lattice. If I highlight it, I get the whole thing. I'm just gonna let it go. I don't care.
And then I can just scale it in. Like turn off proportional editing if you've got it on, and then just shrink it in like that. And that by itself will add just a little bit of realism to this, because that is a detail that your eye won't notice. Everyone thinks donuts are just, they're perfectly round, but they're actually not, right? They've always got this like concave kind of shape around it. So that will add some realism. But then I can add in some little areas here where one part, it got a little bit more puffy on that side. So that part's a little bit raised up. And obviously this isn't as detailed as if you had, if you were manipulating the torus underneath, right? I can't do like, small details. I can't, sculpt in an area or do some crazy changes, but it's enough in a pinch to do something like this. I'm just going to hide my plate. Which, by the way, you can do it by hitting the eyedropper, which is what I've been doing up there. Sorry, not the eyedropper, the eye icon. You can also do it by hitting H. So you select an object in the viewport, you hit H, and then you hit Alt-H to bring it back. So H or Alt-H is a good hotkey to remember. And then here, so at the bottom here, because yeah, the same thing will happen at the bottom. There'll be parts where like the donut looks a little bit like raised on the plate a little bit. Like this, just around the middle here, like that.
I mean, the lattice is really powerful. I just don't understand 145.05.
you can see we are donut together. Then you hit Shift A and then you go lattice. There is a new option for lattice deform selected. We always had lattice, but it was very finicky to cube, like a bounding box over your object. But it's not actually going to appear in your render. All it is a deformation guide. So if you just select these points, you can see we are twisting the donut. But importantly, the actual donut is underneath, like this is a modifier, right? So we're not actually changing.
All right, let's delete the fucking lattice. Delete. All right, now we go back to donut, icing, Control A.
Of your icing and your donut together. Then you hit Shift A.
Shift A.
And then you go lattice.
Nope, not happening. All right. Oh, I fucked something else up. All right, Shift A. Not working for me. It's just opening everything up. The thing that's interesting is I didn't struggle with this part before.
Tool that is in 5.0. And it is, if you select both of your icing and your donut together, then you hit Shift A and then you go lattice.
Oh, let's go back in the object mode. Okay. Okay. Then we go to lattice, deform selected. Okay.
There's a new option for lattice deform selected. We always had lattice, but it was looks like a cube, like a bounding box. Is a deformation guide. So if you just select these points, you can see we are
Okay. Now I got that going.
twisting. Is a non-destructive. Here in the into this because that is a detail that your eye will self, and just shrink
All
it
right,
in
so then
like that.
So then I go here. That'll give me the details. And go 4 and 4.
And that by itself will add just a little bit of realism.
All right. Then oh, 3. I'm supposed to go 3 to get 1 in the middle. Okay, now I can do it. Now I can. And I did it because I realized that this is definitely a really powerful tool. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You said we have to go around and shift select. Then we scale, and boom, you see it. Yes. Yes, it does take on more of that donut form for sure.
Listen to this because that is a detail that your eye won't notice.
It's way better.
Everyone thinks donuts are just, they're perfectly round, but they're actually not, right? They've always got this like concave kind of shape around it. So that will add some realism. But then I can add in some little areas here where one part.
Yeah, okay. So then we want to like just grab these parts. and like deform them. And we're just making little imperfections in the shape. Okay, cool. We don't need to waste a lot of
You've got a
time on
little
it.
bit
We know what we're
more
doing now.
puffy on that side, so that part's a little bit raised up. And obviously, this isn't as detailed as if you had, if you were manipulating the torus underneath, right? I can't do like small details. I can't sculpt in an area or do some crazy changes, but it's enough in a pinch to do something like this. I'm just going to hide my plate. Which, by the way, you can do it by hitting the eyedropper, which is what I've been doing up there. Sorry, not the eyedropper, the eye icon. You can also do it by hitting H. So you select an object in the viewport, you hit H, and then you hit Alt-H to bring it back. So H or Alt-H is a good hotkey to remember. And then here, so at the bottom here, because the same thing will happen at the bottom. There'll be parts where like the donut looks a little bit like raised on the plate a little bit. Like this, just around the middle here, like that. There you go, something like that. But this is just a small amount of deformation, right? It might seem unnecessary, but it does help.
No, it definitely
really
helps.
does help
It definitely helps.
things to feel more realistic when you go to the trouble
It definitely
of
helps.
doing some of this. And it's super, super important. But we can also now apply it. Once I know that I like everything, I don't want to have this like lattice sitting over it forever. So I can just apply that by going to apply and then selecting the donut. And I can also say apply there. And now I can just delete this lattice. And now it's like.
All right. So where do I go to apply things again? Up here? I don't know where he's at. And I muted him.
The donut, and I can also say apply. So I apply it. Once I know that I like everything, I don't want to have this like lattice sitting over it forever. So I can just apply that by going to apply and then selecting the donut, and I can also say apply there.
Oh, I think you have to go to like the donut. Modifiers. Lattice. Oh, brother. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, now I'm changing stuff on the interface I didn't want to change. All right, let's see. He's at the top there. He just selected lattice. It really doesn't look all that complicated to me. But I just don't know where it is. Get rid of the transform. Great, thanks computer for nothing.
And now I can just delete the thing. I don't want to have this important. But we can doing some of this. And it's super, super important.
All right, first off, I don't think we're supposed, oh, we're not in edit mode. We're in object mode. I think we're supposed to be in object mode when we apply stuff.
We can also now apply it. Once I know that I like everything, I don't want to have this like lattice sitting over it forever. So I can just apply that by going to apply and then selecting the donut. And I can also say apply there. I can just apply that by going to apply.
So I think he's just selecting it. Like he's got the icing selected. Then he's got the lattice modifier. Just hit apply. Boom. There we go. That's how we're going to do it. Donut, same thing. Just donut. Now we've got the donut modifier, lattice, apply. Okay. Fuck it. Let's roll.
And then selecting the donut. And I can also say apply there. And now I can just delete this lattice. And now it's like I modeled that, right? All those shapes are now like baked into it. And it looks good. As I said before, if you did want to do any more detail, you could,
now
shift,
I can delete
select
the
multiple
lattice.
objects, go into edit mode, and then using proportional editing, you could also do some like more targeted tweaks. If you really wanted to, manipulate the donut, you could do that. So there are things that you can do. It does make a difference. It is important. But it is also optional. But it's an excuse to kind of introduce you to some more tools and things in Blender. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't do it at the start because we can introduce you to that kind of thing. So, all right, we got a lumpy looking.
Yeah, and I've got a problem where my icing is now not thick enough. I don't know if it has. Ooh, fixed it. Added a little thickness to it to fix it. I actually fixed that myself. I was like, if I go back, I don't want to fuck with the offset. Offset should be 0 probably. I realized if the problem, like it, all right, hang on a sec. Add modifier, generate, solidify, and then you just turn up the thickness a bit. I don't know why that happened. All right. Offset should be 0. Oh, that's fine, just like that. Okay. Let's save that.
Donut, good for us. Now is the exciting bit. We can talk about rendering. Making this actually look good. Because this is gray. This is boring. This is called the 3D viewport view, okay? The reason this looks boring and flat is that this is cheaper for your computer to actually process just the shapes in like a gray. There's no shadows, there's no lighting, there's no surface interaction or anything like that. This is fast for your computer to see. To create that pretty image that looks realistic with light calculations and everything, that is called a render. And you can do a render by either hitting F12 on your keyboard or by going to render and then saying render image. And now that has taken a snapshot. The problem is it looks like not the view that we were looking at. So we're looking at this view. Why did we get a view up here? The reason is that Blender will always take the render from the camera view. So remember that thing that's like way out in the middle of nowhere we haven't touched? It's taking the view from that camera. And you can look through the camera by hitting the camera view icon over there. So now that I'm here in this view, how do we move it in close? How do we get it close to
camera perspective. Let's see that again.
Remember that thing that's like way out in the middle of nowhere we haven't touched? From the problem is the reason is, so remember that thing that's like way out in the middle of nowhere we haven't touched? It's taking the view from that camera, and you can look through the camera by hitting the camera view
Oh, there we
icon
go.
over there. So now that I'm here in this view, how do we move it in close? How do we get it close to our thing? So there's a number of like traditional ways to bring a camera into like in Blender. I'll actually show you the way I
See, the problem I have is that when I go to render image, yeah, I guess that's the camera view.
first learned to do this because it's actually just like natural to me. But then I'll show you the method that actually most people prefer. So you can just, with the camera selected, you can
Oh,
hit
there we
G.
go. I had to
You can
zoom
move
out.
things around like that. If you want to bring it in, like just zoom to the like straight forward, if you hit G and then middle mouse button, that will like kind of, what's it called? Dolly in and out, which can be very useful. And then if I want to like tilt it, I can like just hit rotate like that, or I can rotate along the Z axis, right? Because I know how to like turn the camera. So that was how I learned to use the camera, and how it and out, middle mouse button, that will zoom to the like straight forward. If you hit G and then middle mouse button, that will like,
That part I'm not getting. I'm not getting the. I'm getting G. I can hit G and move it around. G, I can move it around. Oh, there I see. Oh, I see. I'm supposed to hold the middle mouse button and then move the mouse. Okay, cool.
like kind of, what's it called? Dolly in and out, which can be very useful. And then if I want to like tilt it, I can like just hit rotate like that, or I can rotate along the Z axis, right? Because I know how to like turn the camera. So that was how I learned to use the camera, and how a lot of people still like to do it. But a lot of new people prefer this, because now in 5.0, it's actually just a button right here. If you click this button, now I can use the same controls that I used before to move the camera. Because if you don't have that checked, the moment you just like hit your middle mouse to like orbit somewhere else, it leaves the camera behind, okay? But when you're looking through the camera and you have this checked, now when I orbit around and I zoom and I do all the same controls as before, shift middle mouse, I can position the camera exactly where I want it, get it right there without having to worry. You just have to remember, don't then immediately orbit like you're going to go do something, because the camera is still locked to your view. So you have to make sure you uncheck it when you're done, and then the camera is locked to that position there. And by the way, this is like a small thing, but when you're working with like small objects, you often have to like change, because Blender is like designed for like environment, like big types of scenes. This camera is just too big. So if you go to the camera setting,
rotate. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for. There we go. Pan down. Then we want to do the dolly, which is the oh no, it's not. We're not doing that anymore. It's this. Yeah, see, that would be kind of what we're looking for. All right, if we want to render that, yeah. All right, we can see shadows and stuff. All right, cool. All right, so let's learn this new camera tool thing.
scenes. This camera is just too big. So if you go to the camera settings click the camera thing, then go to viewport display. I just changed the display of this. This has no bearing on the actual like final render. This is just how it displays in your viewport so that it's not so gigantic it's taking over everything. All right. The other way you can quickly look through the camera is numpad 0. So numpad 0 will take you in and out. All right. But now that I'm there, I can hit F12 and look at that. That is a different look. It's still gray because the default materials are gray. But you can see there is shadow there. But check this out, we can do even more. So besides just shadow, like you might notice looking at the, by the way, you can bring back a render by hitting F11. I should also mention, by the way, the first time you do a render, I think the first time, like if you've just opened Blender for the first time and you hit render, it'll have to do a bunch of like shader compilations and stuff like that. It should only need to do that once. It shouldn't have to do it every time you open Blender. We're using Eevee, which is a rendering engine we'll talk about soon. But there is some of that every time you render, like when you create a new shader, it has to like develop those things. But anyways, it's the first time it should be slow, but it should be quicker for every render after that. Okay, so there's shadow here, but you'll notice like in here, there's no detail. Whereas in the real world, you would see like bounce lighting from the end of the plate there. You would see like some crevice information. It'd be darker and things. And that is because by default, there's an option that is turned off. So if you go to your render properties at the top there, this has all the information just pertaining to how something is going to be rendered. And by default, ray tracing is turned off.
All right, so let's do. Ray tracing is turned off. Okay.
Which I think is a mistake. I think they should change it to default on because so many people don't like Eevee, this rendering engine, because they think it just produces fake looking images. But when you turn on ray tracing, look at how much better that looks. By the way, if you want to compare renders, you can change to a new slot and then you can do a render, another render, and then you've got the previous render and then the new render in slot 2. And then you can flip back by hitting J on your keyboard. And that's a way you can like quickly compare settings, which is very useful.
That's slick.
But you can see with ray tracing turned on, this is off, turned on, we get bounce lighting. So there's some light that's hitting the plate there and it's bouncing up. We've got like more information in the crevices and it just looks a lot more realistic than it did before. You'll also have reflections when I show you some material properties. So that is something you should have on all the time when you're using Eevee. By the way, there is another
All right, you're seeing though.
called
You're
Cycle.
starting to see our little scene come together now. Don't play me now. I know our handle isn't straight and our donut's a little wonky and our plate is plating, but that's a goddamn donut, a plate, and a cup. Goddamn it!
And it is much more realistic. However, it is a lot more slower. It's honestly, I'm going to show you at the end a comparison between Cycles and Eevee, but it's actually negligible if you know the right settings for Eevee. So I'm going to keep it on Eevee for the rest, which is actually good because Eevee is actually pretty powerful at doing most things. It's just, it's a game engine style. So it's a rasterized rendering engine, whereas Cycles is a path trace rendering engine, much more computationally heavy, whereas Eevee is much more faster. So we're going to keep it on Eevee and I'm going to show you how to get really great results with it. And then at the end, we're going to flip it to Cycles. So if you want to see that final result, you can get it, but we're not going to start there because it's just not necessary. And I don't think most people will actually need it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some materials, but first, you'll notice like it's kind of annoying to have to like render something, like go to render it every time you want to see an image like that. And thankfully, you don't have to because in the top view here, these little icons, there is a mode here called Render View Mode. And this puts the render in real time. Look at that. I don't have to hit the render to wait to see my result. I can see it in my viewport. So it used to be that like rendering engines were so slow that really to do a render was like a big task. You hit render and it would take hours to process something and it didn't look anything as good as this, right? But now rendering is like, and computers are so fast that we can just have rendering running constantly whilst we are working and it's usually not computationally heavy. So this is Eevee, which is the much faster one. Cycles would be a little slower, but still. Anyways, now that we're in render view mode, let's talk about materials. So let's start with the most different material. Let's go with the icing. So looking at our icing here, if I want to make this look pink and change its overall appearance, if I go down to my material panel down here, or material properties, and then I can just click on new material. And now I've got a bunch of different options here, okay? And these all do different things for the surface appearance.
Hang on, my
metallic will make
computer's
it look like metal,
struggling.
right? Roughness will change like how sharp the reflection looks. The base color, this is like the main one you want to change for almost every object. This is just the base color of the object. So obviously,
There we
can
want
make
that purple,
look
baby.
pink, like that. Let's pull in here a little bit closer, focus on that. So I can make it look nice and pink. The other thing is it's looking like way too diffuse. It's almost like a chalk looking icing.
So I'm just gonna go save as. I'm gonna call this materials instead of donut shape. Love it.
But if I bring this back, I can make this look more shiny. I don't want to go like too far because then it's like mirror reflection. I want to go like, you know.
Oh, he's under a surface. Here we go.
Somewhere around 0.2. The great thing is we can really change these values at any point in the future. So when we add in other objects and there's different lighting setups, some of the settings can look a little off at that point. So it's very, very common to like once you've set up all your lighting, or select image texture if you haven't already.
Oh, I fucked that up. All right, hang on. I hit the wrong computer again. Always.
These slots. So this is with Subsurface on Eevee, which is a rendering engine we'll talk about. When you go in here, don't it's not realistic. That is right. Sleep start is
engine.
Or for the surface appearance, like metallic will make it look like metal, right? Roughness will change like how sharp the reflection looks. The base color, this is like the main one you want to change for almost every object.
So let's think about this real quick. How shiny. No, actually it's not. We're good.
This is just the base color of the object. So obviously I can make that look pink, like that. Let's pull in here a little bit closer, focus on that. So I can make it look nice and pink. The other thing is it's looking like way too diffuse. It's almost like a chalk looking icing. But if I bring this back, I can make this look more shiny. I don't want to go like too far because then it's like mirror reflection. I want to go like, somewhere around 0.2. The great thing is we can really change these values at any point in the future. So when we add in other objects and there's different lighting setups, some of the settings can look a little off at that point. So it's very, very common to like once you've set up all your lighting and everything to like reevaluate your materials. But it's completely non-destructive. I can change these at any time. And now I could create some very simple materials. Like I could say, let's make this look black, make it like a black, shiny, glossy ceramic mug. So, by the way, you'll notice I'm not going all the way to black. There's a kind of a unspoken, well, it's not unspoken, people speak it. You shouldn't go fully black or fully white. Or like same with like colors. You shouldn't go like 100% saturation on a color because things start to clip. It's maybe a little outdated as like now color management is getting so good. It knows actually how to handle saturated stuff and like dark things, but it's still like a general rule. You never want to go like fully black because things are never truly like the real black is Vanta black, right? Which is like just this material, which is like scientifically created to like emit no reflection, simplifying it. But yeah, so like things will, even a black mug that looks really black to you is probably not entirely black. So it's still, there's going to be a little bit of lightness to it. So I'm just adding that in there. The roughness, this is where I can make this, if I wanted this to look like a, shiny ceramic mug, I could do something like that. These are just placeholders, by the way. I'm just using this as an example of how to create very simple materials. The plate here, Let's go, yeah, make it just look a little bit shinier than by itself. And then the donut, let's go give it a, you know, brownish, lightish color like that. Make it a little bit darker, like so. Another value, which is
Oh
super
yeah,
important for
let's do the
something like
donut.
icing and the donut.
All right, let's do the donut. So the donut we would select and add a new material. And we need like a brown for the donut. Let's I kind of want to hide the plate. Oh, the plate is called circle because I didn't name it correctly. All right, that's plate. Let's hide it. Yeah, see, our donut looks unbaked. And I really don't know how to get brown. Uh-oh. Isn't brown supposed to be like everything? Yeah, that's kind of like reddish. Yeah, I gotta think about that. How do I get brown? I wish it gave me like different. Oh, I see. Darkness is how. Okay. So I go with like. Why is it so hard for me to see the color? All right, let's go all the way bright. Get like a baked this burnish kind of color going, and then darken that baby. That's way too dark. No, I could do better with the color, but it's at least in the right family of animated colors. That's too dark. Needs more orange in it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out.
And it's really important for just two things, which is food
It's gonna be like doing
and
skin
characters.
color too.
And
Yeah.
it is that when light hits objects like this, they are mushy, right? They're made of like organic matter. And so light actually enters the object and it kind of scatters around inside it and then it re-exits it. It's the reason why when you like look at your hand in front of a light or the sun or something, you can see the light shining through. You can even see your bones through your hand if it's a bright enough light. So it's called subsurface scattering. And that value is underneath here where it says subsurface. If you go down here, you want to turn the weight all the way up to 1 because this is not the intensity of it. This is just like, apparently this value is supposed to be 0 or 1. It shouldn't be somewhere in between. To control how much of it is the scale, which is how far into the surface will the light penetrate. And then you can see here, you can increase this or decrease this, and you can see the light kind of get into it. Now, by default, it looks red, which I also think is a mistake. It's very suitable for characters because characters need red because inside a character is blood, right? But for every other thing like food, it shouldn't be red. And confusingly, and I know there's a mathematical reason for this because of like how light and the physics of things, but like different wavelengths travel at different speeds, right? Inside the surface, that's how I understand it. So they've made the color of the subsurface R, G, and B separated here. So you can see we've got red as 1, then we've got green as 0.2, and then blue as 0.1. So essentially, I need to clear all those out and make them 1, which, here's a tip, you can drag over multiple values in Blender. So if you just click and drag down across something, and then you can just type in 1 and then hit enter, and it makes all of those 1. And then now I can
That's cool.
tweak this. I can make this look a little bit more milky like that. But we can, we can adjust those. I'll do the same thing for my donut here. Give it some subsurface, turn that up, and then I'll set this to 1, and then give it some we can, we can adjust those. I'll do the same thing for my a little bit more milky like that. But we can.
All right, he did like a 0.13. And then click the donut. Same thing, turn to 1. Let's go 0.15. Cool. Same thing over here. Set those to 1.
You know, we can adjust those. I'll do the same thing for my donut here. Give it some subsurface, turn that up, and then I'll set this to 1.
Plate.
And then, yeah, let's just leave it at the default value. But you can see that that's with subsurface on. Actually, let me bring the camera in. All right, I'm going to go lock it, bring this in. I'm going to do a before and after render. So this is how you can use these slots. So this is with subsurface on. Then I'll go to slot 2. And now I'm going to select this, and then I'll turn it off. And then I'll do another render. And now hit J back and forth. So that's the difference that subsurface can make to something. You can see here where it's like fully dark, it's actually now the light is passing through it. And that's what gives something a milky kind of look. And it's, as I said, it's mostly true for things like food. You can see it. I take photos of it myself all the time when I'm out and about because I'm like, look at that subsurface. And my family think I'm weird. But I think it's cool. So anyways, there you go. So that's subsurface. All right, I'm going to pull the camera out to here, and then let's add a table, because this has to be a table. We're going to do the texturing in the next part, but let's add a table. Now, normally, if it was
adding
a table, make sure I turn that off while I orbit around. Yeah, if this was a large scene, right, whatever, you would have to do, like model an actual table. If you know the camera is only going to be here, doesn't matter about anything except the top surface. So all we need to model is Shift A, plane. That's it. That's our table. I just have to scale it up a little bit, but this is our table. It's actually really common in 3D. If you look at like breakdowns of 3D scenes in movies and stuff, everything is fakery. They're just like buildings are cards. They're just like a plane with a texture slapped on it. Nothing is real. You know, when
All right, so this is where we want to be. We wanted to get basically to 2 hours in. And, you know, I wanted to basically stop streaming around 4 so that I can spend the rest of my evening getting my audio set up right. And then, yeah, I'm just really happy. Like, you know, this is for a 4-hour-long tutorial. And basically over this kind of break week, we have gotten through half of it. And so then the goal is now I have the rest of the semester to get through the other half, and I'm planning to dedicate time on potentially Thursdays, but definitely Fridays, and potentially Saturday or Sunday, just depending on how my time is going from week to week. But I'm hoping to be disciplined about my reading and class prep and stuff so that I can have some time to do music stuff and then have some time to get this done. But yeah, I'm just going to call it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I feel like it's great. We're coming along. We've got a plate, and we've got a cup, and we've got materials and colors and all the subsurface stuff. And I see what he was talking about now. I was intimidated by the idea of adding a table myself, to be honest. I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. But yeah, he's right. You know, you pick your camera angle, and then you really just need the top of the table. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And yeah, I think it'd be great. Like, I obviously don't have to do this. My students, and most of my students probably just won't do it because it's an extra credit project for them, so they don't have to do it, and it's a lot of work. But I'd like to have it that way I can say I actually did it at least once, and myself, it gives me an opportunity to learn a new skill, learn a new tool. And then if I have the privilege of teaching the class again going forward, I'll always be able to have my Blender project and go from there. And yeah, I've even been thinking about redoing it. You know, it's always, I always think anytime you're learning new skills, always go back to basics, go back to your earliest tutorials, and you know, see how much easier it is for you to do with your new skill set, or if you've learned different tips and tricks. But yeah, I also been thinking about what else I might model. You know, it's one of those things. I think I should just kind of. I don't know how much time I'll have for it, but I definitely, because you know, when I do have time, I generally want to do music stuff or audio stuff. Um, but yeah, I would love to keep learning 3D modeling, and I've been thinking about what type of thing I might like to model in the future. Like I love the idea of modeling championship belts, like from wrestling and maybe boxing or whatever. Um, I was able to do some 2D modeling of them, like starting with the base and building it up. That was super fun. So, um, yeah, just wondering if I could do something similar with a 3D model. That'd be awesome. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Said I'm gone.